The following video was intended for my nephew, who is a cadet at West Point currently, and he's starting to get into producing videos. And he had a question, what's the best gimbal to buy to shoot videos with? And I tried to talk him out of it, but I wanted to give a better detailed explanation of why a gimbal is probably a waste of money, given that there's so many cameras out there with image stabilization, and you can use a selfie stick to eliminate most of the shake and the uneven shaky videos. So I started out to shoot a couple of videos just showing the use of a selfie stick, but then it turned into a comparison of 5 of my most regularly used cameras. And once I started editing, I realized this is probably some pretty good information for lots of people, not just my nephew. So I decided after I started editing that I would turn it into something a little bit more interesting for a wider audience. But I figured I needed to explain why it was shot so weirdly, and the references to dude and all that. But anyway, enjoy the film, and if you have any questions, if I didn't answer anything in the video, or if something popped up in your mind, please leave a comment below and I'll try to answer it there. Or if there's enough interest, I could even make follow-up videos if you guys want to learn more about techniques and things that I do to shoot. Of course, I'm barely a professional, but I do have some interesting things that I've tried and things that are very successful. So enjoy the video. Okay, so today what we're going to do is compare and contrast 5 cameras, 4 of which you see here on the counter. And from left to right, we've got the Canon Vixia, which is about, 7-8 years old, shoots in 1080i, which is horrible for action because the frames are split. This is a similar, probably an 8-year-old camera. A Canon T2i is ancient as far as the latest technology. Over here is an action camera, a cheap action camera known as the Yi. $70 got me the camera and about $100 worth of GoPro type accessories to mount with. And this is my latest addition. This is a 2 to 3 year old Canon, probably $600 new. I bought it brand new on Facebook for $150. Well, it wasn't brand new, it was hardly used, but I had one of these for several years and used the crap out of it till it fell off the tripod and smacked the lens where it wouldn't retract anymore. So I've been missing this camera ever since. So that's what we're using, the Canon SX720HS, the Yi action camera, Canon T2i, Canon Vixia. Almost everything on this table is ancient except this. This is only a couple years old. And the camera phone that I'm shooting with, which is the last edition of the Google Nexus made by Huawei. And that's what we're shooting today. I'm shooting on a $150 camera that I bought off of Facebook used. It's an SX720HS. It does have image stabilization, which I really dig, but I think if you just get a selfie stick like I'm shooting on right now, you'd be shocked at what it does for your image, especially if you're shooting off of a phone. If you're shooting off your Android, it makes a huge difference. And shockingly, I just extended, wow, this thing goes out a long way. I don't think I've ever pushed it out this far. So the longer you push it out, the more stable it is, because it's a wider angle. And on top of that, getting wide angle shots typically reduces your the bounce on the camera. And so in other words, if you're doing a tight shot, like if you're walking around with your camera phone like this, it's going to bounce a lot. Now I'm shooting a la Casey Neistat. This is a Canon Rebel I've got image stabilization on, which is in the lens. It's not even in the camera, it's in the lens. This is an older Canon, but it's a DSLR. And this is an awesome camera. Most often I use this camera, let me straighten it. Most often I use this camera for manual functions, manual video shooting, stuff where I have to have a lot of control over light and how the image is shot, how it's framed. If I'm mostly what I'm using this camera for is audio. If the audio is real critical and the light is real critical, or it's real low light situation where I have to tune the aperture and control the image specifically, I use this one or the other Canon, which is all it is it's a video camera. It has it's a Canon Vixia. Typically that's what I use in professional situations where I have to have a certain kind of light or a look or something like that. I use one of my Canons for more professional shoots. Alright, so now I'm shooting on the Canon Vixia, and it's got really good image stabilization, but this tripod, or the selfie stick that I'm shooting on, is just the wrong stick for this. This is made for small cameras and it's just bouncing all around. It's torquing mainly. But this is an awesome camera. It's not great for close-up shots, and the more I hang this thing out here, the more I put my selfie stick at risk. But this is an awesome camera. It's old as hell. This thing is probably, golly, it's older than my other Canon, but it takes great low light shots. It's got great focus. It's got a good amount of flexibility for just it has been through the war. I mean, this is probably a prosumer camera back when it was made, because it's got an amazing image, even though it's 1080i, which, if you don't understand, it's interlaced. So they're running frames that are, it's basically half the frame that's interlaced in another half of a frame, and it gives weird artifacts when you spin like this. It does all kinds of weird stuff with the frame. So it's not a great action camera, although the guy that I got this camera, yeah, it's raining, how about that? The guy I got this from was a customer, and it was a data recovery deal. He had a bunch of movies on there. He shot professionally. Oddly, he used this camera professionally, did wildlife videos, like hunting type stuff. Anyway, I tore the camera up trying to get his data off, get down to the board where I could connect to it, and he had dropped it in water. That's why he brought it to me. He couldn't get the thing to fire up. Well, I actually got the data off, and then he didn't want the scraps, so I kept the scraps and hoping I could salvage the guts. Wound up reviving the camera, which was good for me. But I've used this camera a lot. I've taken this out on the trail. I've done some limited pro shoots with this, and you can see I'm in my dark bus, and it does pretty good on the low light stuff. Anyway, it's just another one of the cameras. Now I'm actually filming with the Yi Action Cam, and it's not even all the way out there. I think having this thing all the way out there is kind of redundant, because it's such a wide angle. If you put this camera in very wide angle, I think it's 170 degrees is the widest setting. I'll have to go back and look and confirm, but I don't think you need to even put it out there this far. This is like halfway. And as long as you have the camera high enough up, I mean, I don't know, I guess if you got it this close to your face, you would actually have to be more beautiful than me, but it's about the same kind of light it was earlier, maybe a little bit lighter. It was a lot darker earlier when I first started filming, but yeah, this is more of a comfortable setting. Let me make sure to wipe my lens off. Sometimes I get a little human grease on there. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Can't really tell, because it so happens that I'm blind. But to continue, action cams are not a bad option for blogging, selfie stick type stuff. I like to keep my action cam for what its purpose is, taking footage of stuff where a moving, rotating lens is not the best thing. Like, I ride motorcycles a lot in the dirt, and I hit rocks, I hit limbs, I hit bugs, I hit all kinds of stuff that I can actually put this into a case and protect it from water and wind and elements, and that actually turns out to be the best use of this camera. Is action shots are typically, I've gone scuba diving with these cameras, and that's a really good application. If it's the camera that you have, just like I said earlier, use what you've got. If this is your camera, then use it. But typically there's a lot of limitations with action cams. You can't zoom, not even digitally. You can't zoom digitally even. I guess you can zoom in post, but the resolution on these cameras and the angle, I don't know. It just seems like that would, if you're going to need to zoom, you probably are using the wrong camera. But audio is usually pretty poor on these cameras. This has actually got pretty good audio until it goes in the case. One of my GoPros has the case is built into the camera, and it's got great audio, shockingly great audio. And I'm assuming that if you can hear the audio on this one, that you can hear the freaking chainsaws going. If it's not the dogs barking in this neighborhood, it's the chainsaws and anyway, it's normally very, very, very quiet in this neighborhood. Except for those damn dogs next door, and sounds like they're getting slaughtered. But this is the Yi action camera, and I mean, it's got its place. And if this is your camera, use it by all means. I just don't know that this would be my choice if I didn't have a serious action goal. In other words, sports or outdoors or something where you need to protect your camera. And that's really what action cameras are. They've got lots of mounting options that allow you to do sport type activities, outdoor activities, and not have to worry about dropping your camera. Pretty much everything else that I own camera wise has got some real issues with sports and activities and being exposed to the elements. I've damaged quite a few cameras like that, and this is the exception. But there's a trade-off with everything, and it seems like there's a bigger trade-off with the action cameras, just because their protection and their limitations are that they fit in a nice little tight box that you can mount to your head or your chest or your arm or to your vehicle even. I like action cams, but I think they have their place. And I'm not saying don't have them in your arsenal. I just don't know that this would be the first choice, unless the first choice is I have to capture action footage. And if that's your first choice, or you have a limited budget and you can only pick one camera, I don't know. I would say if you have only one choice of camera, this would not be it, unless most of your footage is going to be action. Just my take. But if it was me, I would spend my money on the camera stabilization rather than some device to stabilize whatever piece of shit you're filming with. That's just me. Or worst case scenario, you're sitting, you have no other device other than a selfie stick and a camera phone. I mean, this takes pretty freaking good pictures. And I don't know, I can't remember. I know you've got an Android. I just don't remember what kind of an Android you have and whether its camera is any good. But you can compare this to the next footage and see if it's actually any better. I would say that the image is going to be quite similar between the two cameras. So the difference is going to come with the shake, and I'm thinking that the shake that you're seeing on this camera phone is the torquing. So it's torquing back and forth, which is where the shake comes from. Because if this thing was centered, it would not be torquing as much. But I can't center it because of the buttons, and you can eliminate a lot of the bounce with a selfie stick and extend it out. And if you don't have an extending selfie stick, spend an extra $12 and go get you a decent selfie stick. This one's probably the cheapest, one of the cheapest ones on the market, but it extends out. Golly, it's almost 3 feet. Let's see how far this thing goes. I'm going to show you if I can turn it back down. Yeah, you can see the selfie stick here. I mean, it's way the hell out there. So the further out you can get, the wider angle you're going to be able to capture. And the wider angle, like I said before, the wider angle is going to give you a more stable looking shot. You're not going to see the bounce, but you know, you're still going to get stuff like this if the camera's torquing. It's just not going to be, you know, even that. It's going to bounce less up and down. This is the stuff that's going to make your shit suck on a non-image stabilized video. Anyway, you can see what I can do with this is a, what is this, 3-year-old camera phone? I mean, it's awesome. I love this camera phone. It works great, and I'm doing the reversed camera phone at that. So this is the crappier version than the one that's on the front or the back of the camera. I'm doing the one that's front facing. So anyway, I'm just trying to give you some ideas. The main thing you should be focused on is shooting video, period. Whatever you got. If it's a $10 freaking camera or a $20 camera phone, it don't matter. You need to shoot video and edit it. It's not going to be perfect, but the more you shoot and practice, the more you will learn, and you're going to figure out the things that you hate. Right now, it's just a stable image, which I appreciate. I just say don't spend $100 on a stupid gimbal. That's my message. I don't think it's going to improve your shots that much. I would encourage you to buy the best equipment you can get, but you can really do dramatic things with a $150 camera, which I'm trying to provide you an example of that right now. Shooting on a $150 camera is, I broke a similar camera like this about a year ago. It was sitting on a tripod and it fell over and busted the lens, so be careful with that. But I've missed it ever since I lost the camera. I missed it, and I'm going to show you some of the things. I'm going to turn this thing around now and show you why I love this. This is far exceeds the capability of a camera phone. Number one, here's my noisy neighbors' dogs, and I'm going to zoom out and see if I can get over 3 houses away. This has got a 40 times zoom on it, which to me, that house is 4 houses away, and it's so far away that I can't keep the shot stable. I've actually got the selfie stick in my belly button, and you know, of course this is not a professional camera, but if what you're doing is going on YouTube, you don't need a professional camera, my friend. You just need the best shot that you can get for the money that you've got. I mean, if you're gonna get into this stuff, if you're gonna get into video, spend the money. You know, if you can run around like some of the big money YouTubers and have a $3,000 camera on a, you know, Casey Neistat is the best example I can give you. I have never seen him using, well, no, I know he's used a gimbal a few times, but I think the gimbal is a gimmick for GoPro. Back before they got image stabilization in their cameras, people used to put their GoPro on selfie sticks, and it was bouncy and it was terrible. But mostly because of this, they would rotate the stick, and it was awful. And so GoPro came out with the gimbal, which was pretty awesome for people that shot on GoPros. But if you're shooting on a decent camera with a decent selfie stick, or like Nystat does with a huge Gorilla Pod, it's basically a tripod. You know what a Gorilla Pod is. Anyway, shooting on a Gorilla Pod, but it's almost as long as a selfie stick. And you know, he's rolling down the streets of New York on a motorized skateboard. You should watch some of his videos to kind of get what he's doing. But he's also carrying a...
Where's the car?
40D or an 80D. I mean, $2,000-3,000 worth of camera, and he breaks them all the fucking time.
Check out how many of these things I've got, by the way. This is my collection of Canon 80Ds. Those are all of the 80Ds that I bought while I was vlogging. 11 Canon 80Ds. Those are all the lenses I went through. Those are all the microphones I burned through. When you're shooting daily videos, accidents happen. You break these, you're tough on these. If you slow down to treat these like they're precious, you miss the shot. I will say, since I've stopped daily vlogging, I've broken exactly 0 cameras, because like I can be more careful and responsible now. All those cameras, that's the price of turning out a new video every day, 7 days a week for like 500 or 600 days straight. In any
of cameras, he's got a ton of cameras, or used to carry a ton of cameras just like this, and then he moved into the 80Ds. I think it's 80D. Yeah, 80D, which he loves those because they've got the autofocus. Well, this has got autofocus too, and it's pretty damn good. I think it's going to compare to anything that he's got. But also, I will tell you one other thing that you need to understand. I've been saying this forever. Shoot with the camera that you have, and don't make excuses because you don't have a $3,000 camera. You can't make a video, because that's stupid. 2 things with that. Shoot with what you have, which means if you have a camera phone in your pocket, shoot with a fucking camera phone. If you can carry a selfie stick that holds your camera phone to stabilize the shot, it's going to be a better shot. But shoot with what you got. If you don't want to lug around a big freaking DSLR like Casey Neistat and that big freaking Gorilla Pod, or carry a backpack around with all your camera and microphone equipment, all that crap, then shoot with your camera phone, or have something like this that you can put in your pocket, which is exactly why I got another one of these. I can carry one of these around in my pocket, and I don't feel like I'm going on a backpacking trip. You know, I'm not lugging around a bunch of camera. I can slip this damn thing in my front pocket, and I miss that. I miss that ability to have something better than my camera phone. My camera phone shoots awesome video, as long as it's stabilized. As long as I take great care and shoot with it. It shoots awesome video, and the microphone's pretty good. The camera result is pretty good. I can zoom in and out, but it's a digital zoom, and I can't zoom very far. And you know, if I'm out in the middle of something and I see something awesome that's 100 yards away, I can actually get a good shot of it with this camera. So anyway, I'm trying to give you a heads up on what my experience is, because I've been doing this a long time. I have been shooting video since the 80s, dude. The 80s, the mid 80s, when they first came out with consumer video equipment. I've been shooting with that ever since then. Well, there you have it, a bit of a review of some of the cheaper cameras that I own, and some of them I use several times a week. So I'll leave some links below so you can find these cameras or similar cameras. The newer models are not going to be as cheap, but I'll leave those links down there too. But at least you could track them down, and you know, anything that you like in this video, you can at least say, hey, I like the look of that, or the way this works, or something like that. I can go in more depth if you guys want to. Just leave some comments. Let me know what the questions are. Let me know what you want to see.